Hi there, Heroes to Hive students. Dr. Adam here. We're getting ready to do formic acid treatments, and so I wanted to take you through and basically how you do this and kind of the things around formic acid that you need to be conscious of. So during the middle of the season, right now we're at the late part of July, there's really only a couple treatment options that are really usable at this time of the season. Honey flow's on, so you have honey supers on, and you need to use some sort of mite treatment when needed that can be used when honey supers are on. And really the only options you have are Hop Guard, Mite Away Quick Strips, and Formic Pro. Those are your three options. And they're both pretty good options during this time of the season. The things you have to keep in mind is that there's some nuances about each one of them. And I'm going to talk about Formic Pro today because that's what we generally use in the Heroes to Hives apiaries. So Formic Pro is formic acid. It is an organic acid, and it is really effective on treating mites. It can be a little tough on bees sometimes, but I'm going to go through things with you and kind of talk about that. And what I want to talk about, really, where all of your questions can be answered, usually with any sort of pesticide that you're using in an agricultural system, is on the label. And I know you've heard me talk about this time and time again in all of these and throughout this course, is that the label that you get with these pesticides that you're using to treat mites, these are legally binding documents, these labels. And so you need to read them completely before you use them on your hives. That is really important because this is a legally binding document. If someone were to get sick because of your misuse of a pesticide and it turns out that you did not follow this label, that is a violation of federal law and you can get in quite a lot of trouble for that. So let's talk about Formic Pro and some of the things that are in this label that you may not be aware of, but can easily be found just by reading. So number one thing, and I've gone through and highlighted a few of the areas that I think are important. When you're looking at this, number one thing you can see in their first aid treatment section is that the skin and clothing, when becoming contaminated, needs to be removed immediately. So formic acid is corrosive to skin. And so you have to be conscious of that when you're getting ready to use this. And the area that says hazards to humans and domestic animals causes skin burns and irreversible eye damage, harmful if absorbed through the skin. Applicators and handlers need to wear coveralls over a long-sleeved shirt, long pants, socks, and shoes, acid-resistant gloves, and protective eyewear. Okay, so I'm getting ready to go out and do a treatment right now. It's almost, well, it's in the high 70s right now. It's definitely not long sleeve weather. You can see I'm in long sleeves and I'm going to put my veil over this so that I'm abiding by the PPE. In addition, I have my nitrile gloves, and one of the big things I see with formic acid is a lot of folks do not wear gloves when they are applying formic acid, and absolutely that is a no-no. That is literally, it says right on the label that you should not be doing that. Again, this is a federally binding legal document. So make sure that you're abiding by these rules. They're put there for your safety and the safety of your bees. All right, the next thing, so that was the PPE section, so the personal protective equipment. You need to have all those things on. Right at the beginning of their directions of use, it says it's a violation of federal law to not use this product in a manner to use this product in a manner inconsistent with its labeling. So that's an important thing to notice, that they even have it in the document that it's a federally binding document. There are some things about Formic Pro that I want to make you aware of, and this kind of goes with a lot of mite treatments, that there is some expected mortality when you place these mite treatments on. Now, a lot of people will freak out about seeing a small pile of dead bees out in front of their hive after they put a formic treatment on. But if you read the label, it tells you that that is to be expected, so that's normal activity for that product. So in the general information, some brood mortality is expected early in the treatment. Treatment may also trigger supersedure of fragile queens. So one of the really important things about using these types of treatments is after you get the 2 weeks done with this treatment, so you can put this on for 14 days or 20 days. After you get those treatments done, you've got to do a hive inspection to make sure you're still queen right. You can lose a queen to this. So supersedure, they will replace the queen, but if you get to a situation after a few weeks of that supersedure, say for example, they're going to be raising a new queen after a death due to this, if they've raised a new queen after this product has been put on, after you pull this product, you've still got a couple more weeks before you may be queen right. So understanding that that's a possibility can help you plan out and not make you panic if you come in after the treatment and see that you are not queen right, knowing that you may have had a supersedure and looking for the signs associated with that, like torn down queen cells. In the hive configuration, this is a really important section. The colony should be a minimum of 10,000 bees, covering approximately 6 9-inch deep frames. That means that you've got to have enough bees to be able to handle this treatment. Small colonies with this treatment, you can really cause some damage. So you need to have a robust enough colony to actually handle this treatment. Now, 6 frames is not a lot of bees in a deep colony. So you can still use it on relatively small hives, but you got to make sure that you're not putting this on some dinky hive with a couple frames of bees, because you'll smoke that hive real quick. An entrance must be provided that is the full width of the hive, typically the bottom board entrance at a minimum height of a 1/2 inch. So you need to have those entrance reducers out and the bottom fully open with that 1/2 inch opening. The bottom entrance must be fully open the entire duration of the treatment. Any restrictions on the treatment in the brood chamber, for example, a reducer or mouse guard, must be removed to prevent excess damage to the colonies. Screen bottom board should be closed off during the treatment to prevent formic acid vapor loss. So the vapor sinks when it's in there, and so if you do have screen bottom boards, just put in your board, the bottom board piece. Usually it's a piece of corrugated plastic that you put underneath that screen bottom board to close it off. All right, down to the application section. So just to back up, there's a lot of information there. So you need to understand that you have the right size colony and that you have it in the right orientation. Now, one thing I'm going to show you on our treatments that I also do, because I've noticed that, over the years of using formic acid, and I've been using it for years with my bees as part of our IPM program, one of the things I've noticed is that it can be tough on bees, and that when the hives are closed up, it tends to be a little tougher. So normally what I also do is I also add a top entrance at this point to allow that vapor to kind of flow around more easily in there and not to get so concentrated in that hive. And I have not had any issues with that not giving me appropriate knockdown for my mites. So I've been using that for years, and using that in conjunction with mite checks after those treatments, I can tell you that it still has the same effectiveness even with a top entrance. In addition, and I think it goes into this in the label a little bit later, the other thing you want to keep in mind is that you also have a little extra room. So normally when I'm working with a big hive and I put a formic acid treatment on, I usually have 2 empty supers at the same time so that they can kind of spread out over the entire hive and have more room to spread out. They're going to want to spread out when this vapor's in there. And so with formic acid, generally what you'll see is a lot of bearding on the front of the hive if they don't have enough space on the inside of the hive. Now, they may still beard even with enough space. They're just trying to create airflow going through that colony and kind of get away from those vapors. But it's usually only the first 3 days that it's really concentrated, and then it kind of dies off quite a lot. So just to recap, top entrances and adding a couple extra boxes. If you have a small colony, always add add an extra super. If it's a bigger colony, I add 2 supers in that top entrance when I do the application. All right, so there's 2 options for this application, but with both of them, the outside daytime high should be between 50 and 85 degrees on the day of application. Now, I was just out here 2 days ago doing mite checks and regular colony maintenance, but it was 88 degrees out here. And because it was so hot on that day, I did not put mite treatments in at that time, and instead looked at the weather, waited for Monday, which is today, where we're in mid-70 temperatures, and the next 2 weeks are in the mid-70s. So this is a really good time to do formic, and at a temperature that I'm not going to harm my bees. So sometimes you have to adjust your management technique based on the needs of the bees and the weather. You're a farmer, you're a beekeeper. Weather should always be on the top of your mind. So always keep that weather app open when you're looking for doing a mite treatment, and make sure that you're at the appropriate temperatures for that. So 50 to 85 degrees for this one. Hot temperatures at or above 92 degrees during the first 3 days may lead to excessive bee, brood, and queen loss. Colonies should have good food reserves prior to treatment and should not be fed in hive during the treatment. So no in-hive feeders during the treatment. All right, so there's 2 options here. You can read these on the label, and I'm going to send the label with this lecture so that you can read this thoroughly. But we're going to do option 1. So there's a 14-day treatment and a 20-day treatment option. I'm going for the 14-day treatment option. We have really big hives here, and I really want to take advantage of this temperature range that we've got going on for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to do the 14-day treatment. So with the 14-day treatment, you're going to be putting these treatments on the bottom brood chamber. So this was generally, when they're talking about where they're placing this, they're talking about on deeps. Now I run all mediums. So generally where I place mine are right on the top of the second brood box. So that's equivalent to just a little bit over what we would see in a typical deep brood box. All right, and then we'll place them correctly. I'll show you that. And then add a honey super with frames at the time of application if necessary to provide adequate space for strong colonies to expand, or if the honey flow is expected. I'm in a honey flow right now, and I expect my colonies to expand. On big colonies, I add 2 extra supers. Allow a minimum of 1 month between applications and do not mix with other miticides. That's important to understand. You can't mix this with other treatments. So you're not using 2 treatments at the same time. It's 1 treatment at a time. All right, post-application, let's go into that. And that's the last section of this. So post-application, do not disturb the colony during the treatment period. Don't go poking in while you've got a treatment on. Colonies are expected to expand the cluster as part of controlling vapor concentration during the first 3 days of the product application. Bearding behavior may be observed. I can't tell you how many calls I get from people telling me that their bees are bearding after a formic acid treatment. And it's literally right there on the label that you might have that happen. But those folks are generally thinking that this is an issue. Again, read the label. Natural honeybee emergence and mortality rate is approximately 1,500 bees per day. A 1-day equivalent of natural mortality, approximately 1,500 bees or 2 cups, may be observed at the hive entrance during the treatment. Again, I get so many calls about formic acid is killing my hives. There's a pile of dead bees out in front of my hive. It's to be expected. It's on the label. It's working as designed. So it's important to read the label. There's a lot of great information here, and most of the questions that you have that are related to the use of this product or how this product is going to affect your bees is right here for every mite product out there. So let's go into the bee yard now and take a look at our bees. We've already done the mite inspections, and I can tell you that I have about 13 colonies that need mite treatments right now. Let's go ahead and put those in, and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so here we are in our hive to put on our mite treatment. I've got my formic acid treatment here. It's Formic Pro right here in this container right here. And I've taken the top boxes off. This essentially has right now, it's about 21 frames of bees in here, so plenty of bees to be able to put the treatment on. The mite count on this colony was 13 per 300. When we took this 2 days ago, and now that we're in good temperature range, we're ready to put on our treatment. It was too hot a couple days ago to put on this treatment, so I had to actually wait for the temperature to come down so that I could put the treatment on. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Really all it entails, again, you've got your PPE, which is really important. I'd like you to note that the hand loops, those thumb loops that you have on your equipment, do not have those on right now because you don't want that formic acid to get impregnated on that surface. So I have that tucked under here so that just my gloves are exposed to the chemical. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Now, one thing about Formic Pro, you want to keep it away from your nose. It is very, very strong on the nasal passage, and so it can really get into your nasal passage really quickly. The way that you're going to put this is that you're going to have this on the middle of the box. It's getting me choked up a little bit right now. I'm going to put this, usually when I'm putting it down, I give the bees time to move. They will move because of the vapor. So instead of just crushing a bunch of bees there. And then I'm going to put these 2 inches apart and then 4 inches from the side of each other. So they're basically going to go in just about like that in this brood chamber. And then I'm just going to go ahead and reassemble this. Now, one thing to note, again, I said that this is a pretty strong vapor. That top entrance is completely wide open. and I have a or the bottom entrance is totally open, and I have a top entrance that I'm adding to this. So you've got plenty of airflow going through here while this treatment is on. It's a really important part of this treatment. But again, you know, some of the things that we might see in a day or two, we may see a small pile of dead bees out there. We'll probably see some bearding as the temperatures are kind of up. But we're in the mid 70s, so we'll see a little bit of bearding. But adding those extra boxes, these 2 extra boxes up here, are pretty empty. There's a couple frames of bees in this one, but this one is for the most part empty. That gives them plenty of room to kind of spread out as this treatment is taking hold in there. Usually the first 3 days are the toughest, and so once you get those first 3 days gone, usually you'll stop seeing bearding and activities, behaviors like that.